Hello everyone, Alec Alger the SideQuest Gamer here, and today, you've requested it, you saw it coming. Today we're going to review, I'm going to review Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon. Now, how does it hold up with the first two games? Well, let's roll the footage and take a look. Now, the first Spyro game was a fun little 3D adventure that showed Nintendo that Sony can also have good 3D games on their platform. The second Spyro improved on every aspect over the first one and added its own flavor. But now, the real question is, what does Year of the Dragon have to offer? Well, every game begins with a story. Spyro, Hunter, and the other dragons are sleeping in the fields of the Dragon Realms guarding the unhatched dragon eggs. But then a hooded figure and her minions known as the Rhinox kidnap the dragon eggs, but she steps on Hunter's tail, waking up the rest of the dragons, but she and the minions escape into the holes in the ground, which only Hunter and Spyro can fit into. Turns out that these tunnels lead into the Forgotten Realms, a realm which dragons have long since abandoned, but as a result, magic was dying in that land. So we learn that the hooded figure known as Bianca is working for the leader of the Rhinox known as the Enchantress, who plans on using the dragon eggs to restore magic, but there's more to her than what meets the eye. I mean, even the annoying egg thieves from Spyro 1 make their return in Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon. But don't worry, there's even less of them than there were in Spyro 1, and they're easier to catch with all the speed boosts and power-ups available. But in terms of gameplay, Spyro 3 is near identical to Spyro 2. I mean, the level layout is similar, and you still have to go from point A to point B. Despite the orbs and talismans being all replaced by just dragon eggs, you still can't skip levels since the side characters you meet in the level return to the hub world you came from and help build a vehicle that will take you to the bosses in that world. And you need to beat those bosses to progress to the next world. The levels do introduce portals to mini-games, and while some of these are fun, some of them I really didn't care for. I mean, skateboarding with Hunter was a lot of fun, and it was well done, but it was challenging at times and kind of breaks the pace of the game. There's also areas that can be accessed only if you freed one of the 4 unlockable characters in the game. There's Sheila the Kangaroo, Bentley the Intellectual Yeti, Sergeant Bird, and the hyperactive Agent 9. With a certain amount of gems paid to the returning cheapskate moneybags, he will be willing to free them against the Enchantress's wishes. But how do these 4 unlockable characters play? Well, they all control and feel different from Spyro, but they're functional for the most part. I mean, Sheila is fun to play, and I do like her as a character. Bentley is kind of slow, and some of his minigames can be really frustrating. He's funny as a character, and thankfully you can only play as him 4 or 5 times in the game briefly, but for the time I had playing with him, I wasn't exhilarated like I was when I was playing as Spyro, but it wasn't too bad playing as him. Sergeant Bird may be powerful and all, but I found him tricky to control and some of his minigames overstay their welcome. I mean, his flying controls are so floaty, I just didn't care for him. And Agent 9 I kind of found really annoying. His stages aren't too bad, except the Banjo-Tooie first-person shooter sections. Those frustrated me the most in the game. I've never been so close to rage quitting. You can also play as Sparks, the dragonfly that accompanied you in the last 2 games, for 5 overhead shooting levels, and those aren't too bad, but basically, these characters feel kind of tacked in. I mean, I had fun with all of them at certain points, but if they had their own spin-off games, I would pass on them. Insomniac added them since they were frustrated with the limitations of Spyro. I mean, he couldn't grab anything due to being quadrupedal, so Spyro 3's gameplay really couldn't go anything above and beyond expectations. Speaking of which, Insomniac once again, and for the last time, returns as the developers before their assets were sold to other companies so they can work on Ratchet & Clank for the PlayStation 2. I never played Ratchet & Clank, but all I know is that there are so many games in that series, and I think they're working on a movie. After Spyro 3, the Spyro franchise was sold to other developers, and from what I hear, the non-Insomniac developed games in the Spyro series are widely hated and weren't that good. But I can't make that call since I haven't played any Spyro game past number 3. Many people hated the 4th game, and the 5th game was either negatively received or just getting mediocre reviews. Then there's the Legend of Spyro games, which was a remake series that was widely hated for being a remake and abandoning the collectathon formula. I also never played those. But anyways, I'm not sure if it was Insomniac's decision to sell off Spyro or Universal's. The music was once again composed by Stuart Copeland from The Police, and this is, in my opinion, his best work in the series. I mean, some of his tracks are actually memorable, especially the Fireworks Factory theme. I also like the themes of the other playable characters like Agent 9's theme and Bentley's theme, but it's not as immersive and atmospheric as the other soundtracks in previous installments, but it is very good. Now the game, control-wise, is just as sound as Spyro 2's controls if you're playing as Spyro. The additional characters take some getting used to, and the only ones I found hard to control was Sergeant Bird and some of the mini-games in certain areas of the game for other characters. The game features more memorable NPCs like the returning dancing skeleton, and Handel and Greta return in the Fireworks Factory on another secret mission. In fact, Greta even helps you build a vehicle to the next world. Moneybags from Spyro 2 also makes his return. This time he's working for the Enchantress, but still allows you to access other areas for the right price. Like I said, he keeps guard of the other characters that offended the Enchantress in some way or another, but for the right price, he'll quote-unquote look the other way. It's funny watching the other characters, as soon as they're free, beat the crud out of Moneybags when they're free, and if you collect everything and defeat the Enchantress for the first time, Moneybags even gets what's coming to him. But the question is, for this game, how well did it age? Well, graphically speaking, it's more colorful than the second one, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily better. But gameplay-wise, the minigames feel stuck in the 5th generation, and I don't think it aged as well as Spyro 2. In fact, the entire game, in my opinion, is not as good as Spyro 2, but I will say it's still better than the first one. One thing this game does improve on from Spyro 2 is the boss battles. With the exception of the very final boss, this game has the best bosses in the trilogy, and the third one is definitely my favorite since it's actually kind of scary, and it was the most rewarding after defeating it. Spyro 3 even fixes some of the backtracking issues I've had with the second game, so there's no purchasing abilities way beyond when you need them. Although getting into areas with characters you can only unlock later in the game presents some backtracking, but it's not too bad in this case. In fact, it's not really an outstanding criticism with this game. But overall, I would give this game an 88 out of 100. It's fun, and although it has some minor flaws, I'm very glad I played it, and I will even say that it's a worthy conclusion to a great video game trilogy. Try it out sometime. You don't even have to get it used, but when the PlayStation Network isn't being hacked for the millionth time, download it, with a prepaid PlayStation Network card, of course. You won't regret your purchase. Now, you may be like, SideQuest Gamer, where's the special guest you promised would be on this upload? Well, this guest is the best friend I mentioned in my top 10 Super Mario games who didn't care for Super Mario Sunshine. Well, I would like to introduce you to one of my best friends of all time, Andrew Starkey. He will talk about his personal connections with Spyro 3, since this game was kind of part of his childhood.
Alright, my first experience with the game was, well, when I first played it, I was actually amazed with the graphics. When I first played Mario 64, Spyro just brought the memories of playing Mario back, but playing it as an actual dragon was really amazing. Collecting eggs was a little strange to me, but, you know, it was really good.
Thank you all so much for watching my review of Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon. And thank you so much, Andrew Starkey, for joining us today.
Yep.
Again, thank you all for watching, and remember to stay awesome.